Alrighty, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. We are back for the, Week 6 episode for the NFL, recapping, looking ahead to Week 7. I'm your host, Caleb, by the way. You can follow me on the Twitters at CalebVUA. Link is down in the description. Thank you very much. Subscribe, share with friends, all that good stuff. Anywho, we got a Week 6 recap, Week 7 preview. And I already gave you 3 picks earlier. I believe some of those lines have moved, so, either you snooze or you lose, man. I think that those are synonymous in that scenario, but you get it. You understand. Either way, it's one of those things you just got to get on early. That's what I was trying to say. We got 4 more for you tonight. 4 more juicy ones. The all-out assault upon the board. The pace has slowed just a bit, but we're still foot on the gas here. We are trying to get operational success here and continue territorial gains against the board, and that continues this week, folks. That continues this week. So yeah, I got 4 more for you there, so stick around till the end of the episode or skip ahead, whatever you got to do, honestly. I'd prefer if you stuck around, but I understand if you don't. That'll be at the end of the episode, though. With that said, though, let's bust this bad boy open and get on into Week 6 of the NFL. Sorry, had to get that out of the system real quick before we started up here. It's a little frog in my throat, man. I don't know what a frog's doing living in my throat, but it needs to get the hell out of here. I'm evicting it. As its landlord, I am evicting it from my throat. Either way, let's start with the Thursday night episode, Let's start with the Thursday night football game, although we kind of talked about it. I watched the first half in an airport, so that's pretty much my experience. Missed part of it because I was eating dinner over at the airport Qdoba in Atlanta. Good Qdoba. A little overpriced, but it is what it is on that front. But that is all to say, I didn't really watch this game too intently. My thoughts and prayers are with you if you were on the Jordan Mason prop on the rushing. Brutal stuff, man. That's just not what you like to see, but impressive win for the 49ers. They've been on a tear since having a slow start to the season. There's rumblings about maybe Christian McCaffrey getting back. Good momentum in that direction. Seahawks, on the other hand, started 3-0, lost 3 straight. It kind of looks a lot like it did last year. Problems on defense that coordinating can't really account for and cover up. Offensively, just a little bit inconsistent at times. They ended up scoring some points in this one, but also keep in mind, scored 24. 7 were from a blocked field goal, I believe. So, you don't necessarily love what you see from the Seahawks right now, but this is kind of what you expected in year 1 under Mike McDonald. Good win for the 49ers, though. Good win. They're at 3-3 now. Kind of a weak division record-wise this year, so they're still very much in position to go out there and run away with this thing. Dead even right now, but for even we're leaving, I think, and the 49ers are a much better football team, at least in my opinion. Pretty much the easiest bet we had all weekend. The line moved a full 3 points in the opposite direction. I believe we bet the Bears as favorites, and by the time this thing kicked off, they were 1.5-point underdogs. Didn't matter. They still won 35-16. The 4 highest margins of victory cumulative in the NFL are in the NFC North. The kitchen is about as hot as it can get in the NFC North right now, and boy, you love to see it. I wish the Bears sucked more, but you love to see it. Don't look now, but Caleb Williams might be starting to get good. I think he had 4 touchdowns in this game. I mean, the running game's starting to get going with DeAndre Swift. I mean, this is a scary football team right now, and if they weren't in a different division, like you plopped them in the NFC East right now, I'm sure the Commanders would still be up there, but they're probably the best team in the NFC East. I mean, really, I'm trying to think about it. I mean, NFC South, they'd be the best team in that division. I just talked about the NFC East. NFC West, probably behind the 49ers, but still very much in position for a playoff spot. Definitely second best team in that division if they were in it. Problem is you're in the NFC North, and in the NFC North, they are unfortunately the worst team in the division. And that's, least dominant is probably the best way to put it. A better way to put it than worst, because there's no bad teams in the division. My prediction that all 4 teams are going to make the playoffs in this division preseason starting to look pretty damn good right now. I'll tell you what, I'll take the pats on the back right now. Was there a few homer takes in there? Sure, there always is. But I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if it doesn't seem accurate right now. We're through 6 weeks, still 11 more games to go here. But hey, I'm going to take the victory lap now, and it certainly won't come back to bite me. The Bears are good. Jaguars stink. Doug Peterson probably got like a week or two left before he gets fired, and I'm sure Trent Baalke will be held accountable for putting together a dog shit roster. But yeah, Doug Peterson's going to get the axe here at some point, and that's just the way it is. No real reason to dwell on that. No real reason to dwell on this game either. The Packers beat the holy hell out of the Cardinals here, 34-13. Jordan Love went 22 of 32 for 258 and 4 scores. Just utter dominance. The Packers are rounding into shape here. Jordan Love seems to be getting healthier. And the Packers, man, they're another one. I think you could legitimately put them in any division in the NFC. And really, the top 3 teams in the NFC North right now, I think you could put them in pretty much any other division in the NFC, and they'd be the best team in that division, quite frankly. But unfortunately, you're in the NFC North, and you're probably second, third, maybe, behind the Vikings and Detroit. Man, I cannot stress enough how loaded the NFC North is this year. It is pretty much widely considered the best division in football right now, and for good reason. Once we get into divisional play, oh boy, this shit's about to be juicy, and I just simply can't wait. Colts, they get a much-needed win, 20-17, to stem the bleeding over the Titans, who also need a win real bad right now. The Titans fall to 1-4. Colts are now 3-3, very much in the thick of things in that AFC South, which, I mean, seems like the Texans are running away with it, frankly. 5-1 are the Texans. We're going to talk about them for a little bit next. But yeah, this certainly helps, especially for a Colts team that had playoff expectations coming in. We'll see what happens with Anthony Richardson's health and, quite frankly, the quality of his play. But at the very least, you're in a fairly weak division. You can string together enough wins to maybe backdoor into the playoffs this coming season. Titans, not so much. And you know what? If there's one positive to come out of this, I think you have your answer on Will Levis at this point. Unless he has a Jordan Love-esque turnaround here in week 7, I don't really see it going a whole lot differently for the rest of the season. So, hey, at the very least, now you have an answer, right? And, hey, you're going to have a high draft pick, so you get a pick of the litter on whatever quarterback du jour that we're going to be talking about come draft time. Good luck. Good luck with that one. Texans get the win over the Patriots. Patriots fall to 1-5. Texans, like I said, improved to 5-1. But the Texans get the win in dominant fashion, 41-24. Joe Mixon is back from injury. Did not miss a step at all from where he left off last time. 13 carries, 102, 1 touchdown on the ground. He was electric in this game. But the Texans are dominant. We know what the Texans are at this point. They got a big matchup coming up this week with, I can't remember exactly who it is. It's a good team, though. It's a good team. You're going to have to trust me, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Pretty sure. Not entirely sure, but pretty sure. I want to spotlight just for a little bit here, though, Drake May. This is his first start in the NFL. Had some mistakes, obviously, through 2 interceptions, lost a fumble, so 3 total turnovers. You can't have that. But you saw some positive things in this game. I mean, 20 for 33, 243, 3 touchdowns, ran 5 times on the ground, 38 yards, over 7 yards a carry. I mean, as far as the situation, it's total dog shit, and he has probably the worst offensive line in the entire league in front of him. But hey, he turned some lemons into lemonade, and that's all you can really ask for a guy in a tough situation that is expected to be the savior of the franchise. At the very least, he pushed the ball downfield much more and much more effectively than what Jacoby Brissett did. And hey, maybe you see a little bit of fight from this New England Patriots team. They're 1-5, and boy, they look like, I don't know if they're going to run away with the number 1 overall pick, but they're certainly gunning for it right now. Certainly gunning for it. So, hey, hope Drake May works out for you. I don't love the situation he's going into, but I also acknowledge that he didn't really have a choice at this point. So, it is what it is on that front. Okay, so we're done with that game. No need to dwell on that too long. That's a blowout. Just a good team beating a really bad team. What do we got next, though? Probably the weirdest game of the week. Buccaneers beat the Saints 51-27. Crazy high-scoring game. This one had the pacing of a college game. There was just some weird shit going on. First off, the Bucs jump out to a 17-0 lead in the first quarter. Then, go into the second quarter. Saints outscore the Buccaneers 27-7. They take a 34-24 lead into halftime. Then the Saints go scoreless in the second half, and the Buccaneers rattle off 27 unanswered to ultimately win in a blowout. Weird game. Weird game. Shit gets weird in the NFC South, man. I don't really know what to tell you on that one. Just no matter what the interdivisional rivalry, shit just seems to get weird for inexplicable reasons, and this game was no different. Saints dropped their fourth straight. Not good. Not good. And especially not good. You already had Derek Carr out with an oblique injury. And hey, Spencer Rattler, credit to him, didn't have a bad game in this one. Had a really solid first half. Not so much in the second half. It seems like Todd Bowles realized that he was playing against a rookie QB and just started blitzing the holy hell out of him. But in the first half, looked very good. But to compound matters, now you're losing Rashid Shaheed, who was on pace for at the very least a Pro Bowl season out wide. He's reportedly tore his meniscus. They're kind of evaluating options at this point. I'm assuming they're going to have him get surgery. It's just a matter of what kind of surgery they end up doing for him. Whatever they happen to decide, that'll determine the timeline. I don't really need to go into crazy specifics. I mean, I've had a meniscus tear before, and the options are either you repair it and that's the longer timeline for recovery, or you get the old cut job, you snip that little torn piece off of the meniscus, and then you're right as rain there in 4 to 6 weeks. Worse for your long-term knee health, but short-term gets you back on the field pretty quickly. So we'll see what they decide. The Saints are 2-4 and they don't seem to be getting a whole lot better. And Dennis Allen seems like he is. I mean, you might want to start packing your bags, doing some research on the home value, all that sort of good stuff. Just not sure that you need to worry about a long-term residence in New Orleans after this year. So hey, take that for what it is. Buccaneers 4-2 though. I believe they are in the lead in their division right now, I want to say. So good for them. I'm itching like a son of a bitch right now. You don't understand. I'm just itching like a motherfucker. Actually, two-way tie at the top. Atlanta wins the tiebreaker on, well, it's not point differential. I don't really know what. Did they have a head-to-head that I'm just not remembering? I don't know. Atlanta has the tiebreaker for whatever reason for the division lead, so both of them are 4-2 though, and Carolina stinks. New Orleans is trending towards Stinkville at the moment. Seems like there's a clear-cut 1-2 in the division right now. So hey, NFC South, I still don't really know how good the division is, quite frankly. After 6 weeks, we've had ups and downs from all of these teams, mostly downs for the Panthers, but ups and downs for all of them. I don't know. Still think the Falcons are probably the best team in that division, I suppose. Eagles get the win over the Browns, 20-16. Not really that impressive for the Eagles. And you know what? This is why we don't bet on games with teams that we simply don't trust. I said going into this game, the Browns, I don't love them, and I will bet against them when given the opportunity, but I simply do not trust the Eagles to cover, what was it, an 8.5-point spread, 9-point spread, and you know what? It's a good thing I didn't bet on it, because my default bet would have been the Eagles, because, I mean, I'll be burning in hell before I bet on the Browns with Deshaun Watson as the quarterback. But the Eagles are such a better team, I would have bet on them, and I didn't. So this is why you don't have to bet on every game, folks. If you don't feel strongly, just don't bet it. Just don't bet it. Bet responsibly, okay? That's your little PSA for the day, a little after-school special, a little quick 15-second edition. But the Eagles get the win 20-16. Didn't look particularly impressive. Nick Sirianni was jawing with some Eagles fans after the game, bragging about his 4-point win against one of the worst teams in the NFL. Good for him, I suppose. Then he brings in the human shields for the press conference with his 3 kids. 2 kids, 3 kids. I didn't actually watch the press conference. I just kind of listened to it. So I don't have any real visual representation. All I know is his kids were up with him on the stage, and it's hard to ask tough questions when your kids are with you. So good job. The Human Shields did their job there on Sunday night whenever he had that press conference. I'm not sure that Nick Sirianni's long for that job either. This is 2 straight seasons where they have not been clicking. They have not been playing up to the roster quality, quite frankly. I mean, they're not the same team that went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but they're not that far off. They're 3-2, yes, but they've been about as shaky a 3-2 as you are going to find in the NFL. If it keeps trending like this, I mean, hey, they've got a guy with some head coaching experience already on the roster here, on the staff with Vic Fangio. It would not shock me in the least bit if they made a move mid-season and then ultimately rolled with Fangio going forward. You just got to take advantage of as many years as you can when you got Jalen Hurts, and who knows how good Jalen Hurts is, but you pay him like you expect him to be an elite QB if you believe truly that you have an elite QB. And you see the head coach isn't working, why wait till the end of the year? Let's try and make a change and see if that changes up some mojo and gets some wins being reeled off. All I know is that Nick Sirianni doesn't seem long for that job. I don't think he's going to be there a whole lot longer unless something miraculous happens down the stretch of this year. Shootout alert. Commanders go on the road and catch their second loss of the season to the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens get the win 30-23. This was a quarterback duel all the way, though, man. I mean, Lamar Jackson went 20 of 26 for 323. Rush for no touchdowns, actually. So rather quiet day on the touchdown category. But, I mean, over 12 yards per attempt. Jaden Daniels ended up with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 24-35 for 269. Neither quarterback really turned the ball over a whole lot. There's one turnover between them, and it's the reigning MVP Lamar Jackson, who had a higher passer rating for whatever that's worth, I suppose. Lower total QBR, so who the hell even knows, man? I mean, I guess the winning quarterback had the better game at the end of the day here. I digress on that front. But hey, the Commanders look good in this game, and the one thing I can take away from this, first off, Derrick Henry getting that long run to set up the win. He's still just as good as he's ever been, man. He is so electrifying back there. And, probably one of the last truly great volume running backs, and we should enjoy him while we got him. Bell cow in every sense of the word. I love Derrick Henry. He had 2 touchdowns and 132 yards on the ground in this one. I guess he didn't have the 50-some yard. His long was 27. Either way, I know he set up the win. That's the main thing. He dominated in this game, as he's been dominating all year. I believe he is the NFL's leading rusher, unsurprisingly at this point. He's still... I wonder when he's going to fall off, because it's going to happen at some point, but I figured it would have happened like 2 or 3 years ago at this point with the way that he plays football. Just an incredible player. That's besides the point, though. My one takeaway from this game, the Ravens defense might have some problems, man. And I know they're facing off against a tough Washington offense to defend with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Very multiple. Cliff Kingsbury is acquitting himself very nicely as an offensive coordinator this year in ways that I honestly did not believe that he would be able to do. But that defense for Baltimore, this is a pattern now. They just keep giving up big offensive explosions, and I don't know if I can trust them going forward. And I'm not sure that you can trust them come playoff time, especially in the AFC, where eventually you're going to face up against a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, people of that ilk that are going to dice up this defense the way it's currently constructed. I don't know if it's players. It's probably some attrition. Probably a little bit of a drop-off from Mike McDonald to Zach Orr. Young defensive coordinator, never called plays before. These things are going to happen. Some growing pains there maybe. I don't know. There's multiple factors, but this Ravens defense is not nearly what it was last year, and we'll see if it can round into shape, but just right now, I don't know if I trust them. Might be a sneaky overplay going forward. I'm going to have to monitor that. We're not adding them to the card this week, I don't think. Let me get back to you on that at the end of the episode. But for right now, their real value is just betting right now. So we're going to wait and see how it plays out. Circle back around to that, I suppose. Alrighty. Then let's keep it moving down the list here. I gotta stop itching because I think the itching is making the itches worse, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Any hoozles, the Chargers did what you expect a Jim Harbaugh coach team to do. They beat a team that is not very good. They win 23-16. Justin Herbert, once again, not spectacular, but it is hard to be spectacular in the Greg Roman offense as a quarterback who throws the ball proficiently. Still, though, 21-34, 237, 1 touchdown. Efficient, if nothing else. Well, not really that efficient, but efficient enough to get the win at the end of the day. J.K. Dobbins, workmanlike, under 4 yards a carry, 25 carries, 96 yards, a touchdown. He was the straw that stirred the drink, quite obviously, in the running game department. Hey, Chargers just keep on winning. They're 3-2. The AFC West is kind of down this year. They get a big-time divisional win. Hey, man, they're trending in the right direction. Maybe they can sneak their way into a playoff spot. I mean, some of those teams, especially the Miami Dolphins, I'm looking at you over there, have fallen off significantly from where we expected them to be to start the year. So, hey, maybe the Chargers find their way in there. Would be a great start to the tenure of both Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh, obviously. Okay, the Steelers get a blowout win over the Raiders, 32-13. All 32 points were scored by the offense, because I know people are going to question, did the defense score any points? They did not, actually. Najee Harris was downright efficient in this game, 14 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown. That's probably the best game that he's had in his career. I mean, at least from an efficiency standpoint. Brock Bowers, credit where it's due. 9 receptions for 71 yards, had one insane one-handed catch in the middle of the field that got called back for a penalty. But we don't forget, that was sick. Saw it on Twitter, and you should look it up too if you haven't seen it. Steelers, they're 4-2. Not really beat anyone of note, but they're 4-2. Hey, Mr. Unlimited is healthy now. He might be the backup. Or maybe he steps in and takes over the starting duties. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think they probably start Justin Fields this week, but short leash, I would imagine. Short leash. 32 points, though. Big offensive outburst. The Raiders stink. Oh, and also, they just traded away. I should have probably mentioned the trades up top. There were a lot of trades on Tuesday of this week, folks. So Devontae Adams goes to the Jets. That's probably the one that you've all heard about. Raiders, by the way, traded him to the Jets for a conditional third, and the conditions are like he's got to make either first-team All-Pro or go to the AFC Championship game to upgrade that to a 2. Not a bad haul for the Raiders, all things considered. He was a malcontent and probably wasn't going to play, and I don't use the term malcontent in a derogatory fashion. It's just, call it like you see it, man. He was faking a hamstring injury that magically got better when he went to the Jets. Probably wasn't going to play until he was off the team. So it's all things considered, good value for the Raiders on that one. But they stink. They're tanking. They are going to draft a quarterback this year, I assure you of that. Also, the Browns, they seem like they're about to shift gears into tank mode as well. They traded away Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. Huge pickup for the Buffalo Bills. I can't talk enough about that. We'll talk about that when we get to the Buffalo Bills later on here. Oh, and also Cam Akers back with the Vikings. You can run, but you can't hide, Cam. Come on back home. Come on back home. We missed you. We missed you for the couple months that you were gone there. But once again, this is the second time that the Vikings have traded for Cam Akers. Just hilarious that he keeps ending up in Minnesota, but welcome back, Cam. We might need you because Aaron Jones is still nursing an upper hamstring injury. We thought it was a hip. It's actually an upper hamstring. So hopefully that's better. But if not, got another back on the roster. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool indeed. The Lions got one of the more disrespectful wins that we saw this week. 47-9 on the road against the Cowboys on Jerry Jones's birthday. Jerry Jones is going on radio shows that are paid for by the team, and I mean threatening the jobs of the radio hosts that he employs. Doesn't want employees questioning his decision making. I mean, at least not in a public forum. I can understand not wanting it to happen in a public forum, but also they're running a show. These are the questions that the fans want to know. So a little bit unreasonable from Jerry Jones there. But that's the state of the Cowboys right now. They aren't going to be active at the trade deadline. They are not very good. Their defense stinks. Their two best pass rushers are out. They got one or two good players and a bunch of meh. And the Lions decided to take out some aggression stemming from their ouster from the playoffs last year, where their offensive lineman was called ineligible. They called a plethora of plays for offensive linemen. In this one, they did a hook and ladder to Penei Sewell, which is just disrespectful. I mean, they lined Dan Skipper outside as an ex-wide receiver and had him run a route. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, probably the most disrespectful win of the season. The Lions were just doing tricks on it in this one. It was ugly, and it got ugly in a hurry. The Cowboys stink, and I don't think they're a playoff team, even remotely speaking. They're going to need some easy games and some good luck to get into the playoffs because they are not good. The run game's not good enough. The defense is outright atrocious. Dak has been inconsistent at best, bad at worst. They only have one wide receiver, so it's not like they're giving him a whole lot of help. Cowboys are just not a good team. They're just simply not a good team, and what would you look at that? Looks like I'm starting to be right. Although maybe still kind of wrong, because I still thought they would be a 10-7 football team. They're 3-3, so we'll see if that happens. The Lions are one of the more dominant teams in the league, though, and it's a huge matchup we got coming up this week between the Vikings and the Lions. That's must-watch television. Get your popcorn ready. That's going to be awesome. Hopefully you can get it on your TV, but if not, I pity you. I pity you because this one's going to be an awesome, awesome game. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a real litmus test for, definitely the Lions. I would still say the Vikings, too, for just how good both those teams are. And, man, that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a real fun one. Hopefully Aaron Jones is good enough to go in that one. Falcons get the win over the Panthers, 38-20. Just utter domination over a team that they should dominate. The Panthers still stink. Maybe they're contemplating a move back to Bryce Young. We'll see if that ends up being the case. For now, it seems like Andy Dalton is the starter there in Carolina. Hey, the Falcons just keep winning. They're not beating great teams, but they do just keep on winning. 38-20. Then the Bengals on Sunday night, they get the win over the Giants 17-7 in just a disgusting game. A pitiful, disgusting game that made my eyes bleed watching. I'll tell you what, it was atrocious. It was not good. I fell asleep in the fourth quarter. Your boy never falls asleep in the fourth quarter of these NFL night games, and I fell asleep in the fourth quarter because that's just how terrible it was. And you know what? I didn't miss anything because when I fell asleep, it was 17-7. And when I woke up, the final score was 17-7. Hey, credit to the Bengals for getting their second win of the season. I lost every bet I placed on this game. Just unfortunate. Just simply unfortunate. Pain, suffering. Life is pain, existence suffering. You understand the gist here. Giants are now 2-4, and they also stink. Okay, so final game of the week. The Bills eke one out against the Jets. Coming off of firing Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich comes in. You get a little bit of that interim head coach bump. Ultimately, it came down to, at least in the Jets' eyes, at the end of the game, you really only had one receiver that you trust and a bunch of guys where you're like, I don't really know if I can trust this guy. And that really cost you. And they threw the ball to Mike Williams at the end. Aaron Rodgers threw him under the bus and said Mike Williams ran the wrong routes. Fun things to hear from your quarterback in the media. Always love to hear it from our boy Aaron Rodgers. But that obviously spurred change. They trade for Davante Adams. Hilariously, Davante Adams hopped on a red eye on Monday morning, I believe it was. And Monday or Tuesday morning, I think it was Tuesday morning when the news broke. He hopped on a red eye well before the trade was publicized. He definitely got word that, okay, this thing is being finalized. Might as well just go on over to New York, get there for practice to start the day. He got there so quickly so quickly. Just hilarious timing. He could not get out of Las Vegas fast enough. He got the first flight available, one way. Get me the hell out of here. I will hire movers to bring the rest of my stuff at some point in the coming week or so. Just funny. Just funny to me. But they're losers in this one. They're 2-4. They're going to have to hope that the Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams magic is still very much alive if they want to keep on winning or start winning, really, this season. Hey, they got the division to try and do it right now, but I digress. As far as the Bills go, though, man, the Bills are so good. I mean, it really came down to, in this one, same sort of problem that the Jets had, where... And I probably prefaced it wrong. The Bills are so good, but they did go up against a really solid Jets defense. Struggled at times as well. I mean, obviously, you take out the Rodgers Hail Mary completion, which he's probably the best Hail Mary thrower of all time. I mean, it's insane how he keeps doing this. He hit Lazard before halftime in this one to, I believe, tie things up. No. To be down by 3 at halftime, they ultimately completed that. However, it just was not meant to be for the Jets. Without that, would have been a 10-point game, but still offensively, I know it's the Jets. I know it's a very good defense, but you just simply have to be better if you want to get over that hump and make that Super Bowl run this season. So what do? They go out and get Amari Cooper from the Browns. And, hey, man, I'll tell you what, with this team, with Amari Cooper, the ceiling is the roof. I think they are the best team in the AFC right now, pound for pound. I mean, we'll see what happens when they go up against the Chiefs. I'm not sure they exercised those demons yet. But as far as a total roster, I think you pretty adequately replaced what you lost with Stephon Diggs, bringing in Amari Cooper. A lot less baggage, I guess you could say, off the field as far as drama in the media is concerned. I mean, Amari Cooper might as well be mute. I've probably heard him say 13 total words in my entire life, at least that I can remember. I don't know what his voice even sounds like. So, not going to be having quite those same issues that you had with Stephon Diggs, so that's good. That is good. And he's a legit number 1 wide receiver still in this league. So, that's exactly what Josh Allen needed. Khalil Shakir now slots in as the 2. Keon Coleman there at number 3. All of a sudden, you got a nice little solid wide receiver core. Running game was never an issue. The running game has been doing fantastic this year. James Cook, part of the reason why they didn't do fantastic in this game, James Cook ruled out at the last minute. Probably would have gotten a few more of those goal line touches to maybe get a touchdown there. I bet an anytime touchdown on Ray Davis whenever James Cook went out. And boy, that very first touchdown possession for the Bills could not have gone more painfully. If you remember, Ray Davis rushed down to the 1-yard line for 1st and goal. The Bills get dinged on an illegal procedure penalty or an illegal formation penalty. So they get moved back 5 yards to the 6. Ray Davis once again gets down to the 1-yard line. They push it in. Ray Davis never gets that close again in the entire game. Just brutal. Just brutal stuff. But no one cares about your bets, Caleb. Just stop talking about it. Bills are fantastic. Bills are a fantastic football team, and I think Amari Cooper is the piece that's going to put them over the top. I think they are the best team in the AFC, and they are certainly right up there with the Texans, the Chiefs. I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting, but those are the ones that pop up in mind right now. Sneakily, the Ravens, but I'm not really sure I trust their defense. Those are the clear-cut top 3 right now, and I think the Bills aren't 3, and I don't think they're 2 at the moment. They will all play each other at some point, though, I imagine, so we're going to find out. That is it for Week 6, though. Let's see how we're doing on time. Easy breezy. I mean, we got through that in like 35 minutes. No bloviating whatsoever on that one. We're going to get y'all out of here in a reasonably short episode this time around, which we love to see. We do love to see. I hit the wrong link, though. Thank you to the 2 of you that listened to the episode on Tuesday, though. I just saw those metrics. Give me just a second. Just a second. I was just talking about this today. I really can't multitask. I have to be either typing or talking. I can't do both at the same time. And that's a me problem. I fully understand that, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, got it pulled up here. Let me get to all markets, and let's just kind of go down the list. So, on Thursday night, we got the Broncos at the Saints. Today, as you are listening to this, if you're listening to this on the day that this will come out, Broncos are -2.5. You can get a 3 over at ESPN Bet and DraftKings if you're looking to bet on the Saints. I don't really trust either of these teams. I think this is going to be an emotional spot for the Saints with Sean Payton coming back in. Probably emotional game for Sean Payton as well. Not sure really what happened there, if he wanted to leave or if he got forced out. I don't really know. I just know there's weird dynamics in this game, and the Saints are banged up, but I don't really trust the Broncos to cover here or win. I don't know what's going to happen. So I think this is going to be a absolute slop fest, a bit of a sad game, but I don't know which way it's going to go. So I'm staying away from it. Over-under is anywhere from 37.5 to 36.5. Good luck if you're betting the over, man. That's just not a total I would bet, quite frankly, and we'll leave it at that. The Jaguars are hosting the Patriots in London, which you can say that because it's basically a Jaguars home game in London there, with how many times that we send them over there. The terrible football that those poor people have been subjected to. I guess this is probably revenge for the Revolutionary War. Probably more for burning down the White House in 1812. But I mean, hey, with that in mind, I don't know if anyone deserves to see the Jaguars as much as they have, but we got some bills to pay. The bills are coming up due, I suppose. Anyways, the Jaguars are favored by 5.5, pretty much across the board. I would lean the Patriots because the Jaguars do stink. And I think that the Patriots do have some juice with Drake May at quarterback. I just don't know if I trust the Patriots enough to bet on them, quite frankly. Over-under is 42.5. No lean, really, one way or the other. I could see this going either way. Totals are so hard to bet. That's kind of why I've shied away from them more and more. They're much easier to bet in college, I would say, than the NFL. But you got to kind of pick your spots, I would say. That being said, I think I did bet on the Panthers over once again, but, no spoilers. Dolphins are at the Colts. This is a sad game. You can still find a 3.5 over at Caesars. Heavily juiced. There's a real chance that one moves to 3 at some point here. Otherwise, it's 3s across the board in favor of the Colts. I guess I would lean the Colts in this game. Again, this is one where I don't trust either team, so I'm staying away from it, quite frankly. Over-under is 43.5, pretty much across the board. I'm not betting the over in any game that the Dolphins are involved in, so I'm still leaning the under. I just don't like betting unders on totals that low. I'm sorry, I got to stay away from it. Seahawks are at the Falcons. This one's pretty much 3s across the board as well. You can still get a 2.5. Heavily juiced on that. It's -120 over at Caesars, unless that has moved, and that would be news to me at this point. But that's what it is. I would lean the Falcons in this one. I just think they're two teams kind of heading in opposite directions momentum-wise. But I'm still not sure I trust the Falcons either at this point. So I'm staying away from it. Over-under is high. It's 51 in most places. You get a 50.5 over at FanDuel if you're betting the under. I would kind of lean the under on this, honestly. Like, I get that both teams can score. Neither defense is going to be wowing anyone anytime soon. I would still lean the under, though. I just feel like the Falcons are going to make it weird in some way, shape, or form. I'm not betting that, though. I'm not betting that. I don't really enjoy unders on the betting side of things. Texans at the Packers. This one is 2.5 across the board. You can get a 3 over at Caesars. Once again, heavily juiced. If you want a little bit less juice, looks like DraftKings has got a 3 for some solid lack of juice there. At the very least, you're sub 120. You're sub minus 120, so it's really all you can ask for at a certain point. You can still get a fair amount of 2.5s. It just looks like it's moving to 3 soon. So if you want to move on that 2.5 and buy the juice, I mean, as far as the juice is concerned, on that 2.5, you're still getting minus 115 at FanDuel, assuming that that's still accurate by the time this comes out. So have at it if you want to do that. This is just a good game. I'm not sure. I think it's a huge litmus test for the Packers. I think we're still trying to figure out how good they actually are. Huge litmus test for the Packers. Big game for the Texans on the road to really cement themselves as one of the contenders in the NFL and in the AFC particularly, more immediately speaking. I think it's just a good game. I don't know which way to go, so I'm just not betting it. Over-under is 47.5. Slightly lean the over, but I'm not. I think both these defenses are good enough to where they could cause the offense's problems and not hit that number, so I'm staying away from it. Bengals are at the Browns, and Bengals are favored by 6 in most places. Looking like you can get a 5.5 at both MGM and FanDuel at the moment. For whatever reason, it's juiced in the wrong direction at FanDuel. You can get a minus 108 on that 5.5, so that's solid. That's solid. I would definitely lean the Bengals in this one, but I don't really trust the Bengals, so I'm not adding them to the card. The Browns stink. Over-under is 41.5. Again, that's at MGM and FanDuel. Otherwise, you're getting 42s. Well, mostly 41.5s across the board. Really, the only 42s are Caesars and Bet365, which still sounds like a fake site, quite frankly. So there you go. There you have it. I don't really have a lean on that. I guess I would lean the over because the Bengals are involved, but also the Browns are involved, so I'm certainly not betting that. Eagles are at the Giants. Eagles favored by 3 across the board. I don't trust either of these teams, therefore I am not betting the spread. If you're going to make me pick, I mean, I'm going to take the team that at least has some hope in the Eagles. I don't think the Giants even have a small glimmer of hope right now. I think Kayvon Thibodeau just got hurt too, so even worse, especially when you're dealing with a concussion for Malik Neighbors, who's been the only good player on offense pretty much all year. Over under 43 in most places. You can get a 43.5 over at FanDuel. I would lean the under at that 43.5 if you're going to bet anything here, but I'm certainly not adding it to the card. Big one. This should not be a 1 o'clock game, but it is. I hope you're in the right market to watch it, or you're, you got the money to go to a bar, bought the Sunday NFL ticket, whatever. I pity you if you're not able to watch this game. Lions at the Vikings. Vikings favored by 1.5 in most places. Inexplicably, they're favored by 2.5 at Caesars. So thank you, Caesars, for the respect. You get a 2 over at ESPN Bet, but why do that when you can get a 2.5 or a 1.5? Obviously, I can't really think objectively on this game. I'm leaning the Vikings pretty strongly, but not betting on it. Certainly not betting on my team. And again, this is a very similar situation to the Texans going on the road to the Packers. Big litmus test for both teams. I think the Vikings have nothing to prove at this point with the slate of teams that they've beaten, but the Lions, obviously, they just beat up on the Cowboys. They kind of beat up on the Seahawks as well. They're a solid enough team, but this is a real litmus test, at least for divisional supremacy. This would go a long way for the Lions winning the division. It would go a long way for the Vikings winning the division. This is going to have some serious implications down the line, so this is a huge game with two of the best teams in the NFL. Over-under is, get anywhere from a 50.5 to a 51. Just go find it. It looks like you can get a 50 actually at Caesars. So if you're looking to bet the over, I'd go that route. I'm kind of zigging when a lot of people are zagging on this one. I just feel like the Lions have not faced a defense as good as the Vikings defense is. And I think that the Lions aren't going to score as many points as we expect. On the other side of things, the Lions defense might give Sam Darnold some fits as well in this game. So I don't know. I definitely lean the Vikings if for no other reason than Aiden Hutchinson. We just watched his leg snap in half. Oh yeah, forgot to mention that. Gruesome injury for Aiden Hutchinson. He had one of those where his legs were whipping around and unstoppable force meets immovable object. And I'll tell you what, this time the immovable object won. His shin swings around and violently curls around Aleem McNeil's shin. and Aleem McNeil was awarded with a contract extension this week. Unrelated, but fun to link the two together, at least for my own entertainment purposes on that one. But now they don't have their one really good pass rusher. I think the Vikings are going to eat in the passing game in this one. We'll see what happens with the running game. Probably depends a lot on Aaron Jones' health. But I think the passing game is going to eat. I really, really do for the Vikings in this one, so that's why I'm leaning that way. I think the only way we're hitting the over, though, is in a blowout, quite frankly, because I think in order for the Lions to win, they're going to have to make this a rock fight. And if they do that, they'll hit the under, quite obviously, but that's why I'm staying away from this. I don't really see how this is going to go. I think it is going to be a more low-scoring affair than people expect, but I'm not sure. Bills are hosting the Titans on also Sunday. You can get a pretty good mix of numbers here, anywhere from an 8.5 to a 9.5 right now, and it kind of depends on the book you go to. The most common number is 9, but you're finding 9's 8.5 over at FanDuel. I don't know. I'd certainly lean the Bills, and that 8.5 is very tempting as a bet because I think the Bills are going to blow them out of the water in this game. But I just didn't feel strongly enough on it to move, so staying away from that. Over-under anywhere from a 40.5 to a 41.5. I don't know. I would lean the under, but I'm not betting the under on a 41.5, so I'm staying away from that. We are adding another bet here, though, folks, and we're coming right up on it. This one, a 4 o'clock game there in Landover, Maryland. The Panthers are going on the road to the Commanders, and the Panthers are basically an automatic bet for me right now on the over. With Andy Dalton at quarterback, they have been smashing overs over the last several weeks. So you can get a 51.5 right now over at FanDuel and over at Caesars Sportsbook. You can also get it at ESPN Bet as well. We are taking over 51.5 points in this game. That's a huge over-under, but the Commanders have also been smashing overs as well. Neither defense is all that good. Both offenses are kind of solid, at least solid enough to score some points. I'm not sure. This over-under would have to be like 55, 56.5 for me not to bet it, quite frankly, because I think this is just going to be either a shootout or a 40-point blowout for the Commanders in this game. But that's why we're betting the over. I'm not betting the -8 in favor of the Commanders. I think there's a lot of points for a very young team that's never been in this position before. But I love the over at 51.5, so we're adding it to the slate. And we got one more bet coming up here, but we're keeping it in the holster for now. The Chargers are at the Rams. Rams favored by, not the Chargers, sorry about that. The Raiders are at the Rams, -6.5 in most places. If you're looking to bet on the Raiders, we got a 7 for you over at Caesars. I'm not betting on the Raiders right now. They are in full suck and tank mode. I'm not really betting on the Rams right now either, though, because they're about as injured as a team can get. Lean to 6.5 on the Rams. Not betting it, though. Over-under's 43.5. And again, only way that this over hits, I would say, is if it's in a blowout in favor of the Rams, and the Rams score 35 to 40 points. That's probably your best bet for hitting the over in this game. Otherwise, I just simply don't see it happen. I don't think the Raiders are going to score enough points. But that is all to say, I'm not betting it. Just not betting it. Big time matchup here. Chiefs go on the road to the 49ers for a Super Bowl rematch. Pretty good mix of 1s and 1.5s. You kind of just got to shop around right now. I would lean the Chiefs in this one. This was very close to being a bet because this just feels like a game that the Chiefs win in this sort of circumstance. They don't have a better team. Well, honestly, the Chiefs still might have a better team. They don't have better receivers, certainly, but they still might have a better team. So I would lean the Chiefs in this one. I just think the defensive line for the Chiefs is an advantage over the 49ers offensive line. I think the Chiefs offensively are not great, but the 49ers defense isn't what it has been either. So Patrick Mahomes there, maybe some magic with Xavier Worthy somewhere along the line. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. Like, I would definitely lean the under on the 47.5. I think FanDuel might be the only one with a 47.5 right now. I would definitely lean the under on that 47.5. I'm just not sure there's going to be that many points scored, but I'm not betting it. Very close to being a bet on the Chiefs, but I'm not betting it. The Jets are a 1.5 point favorites, 1.5, 2 points, kind of just depends on where you go. ESPN Bet actually has it plus 2.5. I'm not betting it because I don't trust the Steelers. But why don't you just go ahead and look up the record for Mike Tomlin against the spread as a home underdog? Pretty goddamn good. Pretty goddamn good. So I would bet on the Jets, a little Devontae Adams bump, but hey, you don't bet against Mike Tomlin as a home underdog. I'm staying the hell away from this game. This has, Steelers classic, gritty, disgusting looking win written all over it. Over-under is 38 or 38.5 over at FanDuel. That seems appropriate. Steelers are going to win in a rock fight, I think, in this game. Not betting it. Just not betting it. Can't bring myself to do it. Okay, we got 2 Monday night games this week. For whatever reason, I'm still not entirely sure. Ravens are at the Bucks in the first one, or at least the first one that kicks off. That is minus 3.5 in favor of the Ravens. I was very close to betting this one too, but I just don't trust the Ravens defense. And I was also very close to betting the over at 41.5. And by the way, 3.5 and 41.5, they're across the board pretty much. Books are in lockstep. There's some differing juice here and there based on the numbers, but they're pretty much in lockstep with what they're doing on this one. I would definitely lean the over at 49.5. Not betting it because maybe the Buccaneers defense shows up and kind of, stymies the Ravens offense. Maybe the Ravens defense shows up and has the best game of their season against the Buccaneers. But it feels like two offenses that have the advantage. I would definitely lean the over in this one, and I'd lean the Ravens to win just because they're a better football team, top to bottom. I just don't trust that defense. Therefore, I can't bet it. I simply can't bet it. And lo and behold, we have reached our second and final NFL bets of the slate. Chargers are at the Cardinals on a 9 p.m. kickoff on a Monday night. What is this? The College Football National Championship? I got work in the morning, you sons of bitches. Why are you kicking off so goddamn late? This is ridiculous. But Chargers are favored by 2.5 across the board. Over-under is 43.5 across the board. We're not even going to think about that over-under. Seems appropriate as far as a line. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. I get that they're road dogs, but we said it last week with the Denver Broncos. This is the type of game that Jim Harbaugh wins. And it may not look pretty. It may not be anything to write home about. It may make you cry at times at how horrible it looks. But I just see the Chargers winning. I see the Chargers covering. And I've added it to the slates. Chargers minus 2.5. That is the final official bets in the NFL slates. And with that, this might be like a record short time for, 53 minutes. I think we made it a pretty good episode for you. With that, though, that is it for Week 7 preview. I got 2 more to add. There were a couple numbers that we were waiting on. In some cases, waiting for some more favorable juice. In other cases, waiting for the line to move, and those lines have moved. First off, we got Iowa State minus 13.5 versus UCF. I believe that was at 14.5 when we looked at it the other day. It now moved to 13.5, and I love that hook there with the 13.5. So we are taking Iowa State minus 13.5 versus UCF. UCF sucks so bad. I mean, so bad. Iowa State's going to win. They're going to cover. It might not look pretty, but I think they're going to cover in that game. And the line moved. It was 3. Now it's 3.5. So we're betting Illinois plus 3.5 at home versus Michigan. I just think they're a better version of what Michigan is trying to do. And therefore, that is why I'm taking them as the underdog. Great number there at 3.5, I believe. So that's why I'm taking it. Full recap. We have got Clemson minus 21 versus UVA. That might have moved. I have not checked. I apologize. You should probably go ahead and check that if you haven't betted and you want to. Cal minus 9.5. I believe that's actually moved closer to NC State's direction at this point. So I think it might be either a 9, 8.5 maybe in some places. So I think I might have moved in your favor if you waited to bet on that. But we took Cal at minus 9.5. BYU also minus 9.5 versus OK State. And then, of course, Iowa State minus 13.5. Illinois plus 3.5. Panthers Commies over 51.5, and Chargers at the Cardinals -2.5. With that, though, that's all, folks. That is all for this week. Hope you enjoy the football, but in the meantime, I'm your host, Caleb Verzak. This has been Unqualified Analysis. If you want to subscribe, do it. There's nothing stopping you. Subscribe wherever you're listening to it, watching into it. Those were words that I strung together. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, any old place you're listening to it, hit subscribe, share with a friend, help me grow this thing a little bit. Follow me on Twitter at CalebVUA. The link is down in the description. And you can also contact the show either by shooting me a DM on Twitter or sending me an email to unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Outside of that, though, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got just about no clue what I'm talking about on any given day, but one thing I learned this week: Pete Rose had more singles in his career than Babe Ruth had total hits. And I'm sure I heard that at one point. Not sure it's been shared on this podcast. Insane stat. R.I.P. to that guy. It is impolite to speak ill of the dead, especially with nothing that pertains to his death. So, rest in peace. Rest in peace, man. You got some explaining to do to the man upstairs on a few of the things you did in your illustrious life. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to cut this thing off, and I will talk to y'all next Tuesday. Enjoy the weekend of football. I know I certainly will. Until then, deuces.